You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hey everybody. Bet you didn't expect me to be doing the cold open. Well, there's a reason behind that. Dan's already met his one cold open a day quota. And well, I need more practice with live cold openings because on mine, Jenna, and Sean's channel, it's all recorded. So if I mess up, I can just delete it. Here, if I mess up, it's just out there for all y'all to see. That's my roundabout way saying if Kyle actually has the night off, and as soon as I find the button, we're going to talk about books that are in stores this week. Stick around.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to In Stores This Week. And it's a good thing that he did the cold open. He's over there. He did the cold open because I was just going to show off another one of the minis I painted.
Oh,
This is a tiny one, too. It's like, wait a minute. This guy is supposed to be a big-ass Marine. And he's tiny next to the guy he's supposed to be fighting with.
yes.
Scale issues.
All right. Here we go. I'm going to try to do what Kyle does all the time.
Annoy me?
No, I mean, I just might, but we are going to eventually, as soon as I get my notes up, because y'all know me, I got to write everything down. We're going to talk about 007 for King and Country. Dan, you want to take this one first?
Sure. This is Philip Kennedy Johnson and Giorgio Spalletta, and we're continuing off of last miniseries, which was just called 007. Now, that was originally supposed to end at that end of the series, and by the time they got to it, Phil said, I have an idea. I want to change the ending a little bit and go into another series, and Dynamite went. So this is what we're getting. This is so much. I got a chance to talk to Philip about it on my show. And one of the things we both talked about was how much of a missed opportunity it's been for them not to delve more into the other double O's. You know, occasionally we get a guest one, they die or whatever, but it's something that Phil and I both agreed on, and it turns out that's a lot of what he wanted to do with this one. We have an X-002 with 007 on the run from Miradum. They have all of the MI6 after them. All the other 00s are after them, and they're trying to bring it down and bring down Miradum, who is now, you know, kind of the be-all and end-all of spies. And it is a really interesting take on it because we're looking at a woman in James Bond's life who in a lot of ways is more Bond than Bond, you know. And Philip's got a really good feel for the character and the story he's telling. There's a different artist on this one, and I remember kind of telling Philip on the last one, like, well, just keep the same artist, and he didn't say anything. And then, but Giorgio's doing a great job. This is a really strong book. I like where they're going with it. We're moving the story along quickly, and you know, here we are coming off of the 70th anniversary of Bond, so I think this is just a really fun story. And I think it's very reminiscent of the Ian Fleming books, you know.
Nice. So, man, Eddie and John, stop giving Nick ideas. 00 Sonia, 00 Vampirella. No. No, this book is great.
We got Double O Vampirella later in today's show.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Uh, I'm always happy to see this one on the list. It's so good. I think the best part about how this, and honestly, the first arc is written, is you don't have to be a super fan of James Bond, to hop in on this story.
Yeah.
The team on this has done a great job of making this book, accessible to new readers, while, and Dan, you can definitely correct me if I'm wrong, kind of catering to James Bond fans.
Oh, absolutely.
To me, personally, this has got to be one of the best books Dynamite puts out. Great art, great dialogue, just an overall solid spy espionage thriller. I really dig it.
There's some really good covers. I mean, Linsner doing guys is kind of a Linsner drawing guys is kind of what we don't expect from him, but he does a great job with it. And then some of the other covers are just stunning.
Yeah, they really are. All right, on to the next one. Belle, The Shape of Fear.
Let you take this one.
This was fine, and just because I knew he was going to ask, no fish people or Cthulhu monsters. It's always a plus for me. Now the monsters in this did remind me of the Demogorgon and Demodogs from Stranger Things. I don't know. I think I was when it comes to this one, I was spoiled with the books we got from Zenescope last week because I really enjoyed both of them. Mm-hmm. It's a team up book with Sleeping Beauty. So obviously it's about dreams and nightmares and stuff like that. Belle doesn't know if she's dreaming or if she's awake sometimes. So at least Sleeping Beauty serves a purpose. It's not one of those random, let's just throw a character kind of team ups in. And since Kyle isn't here to say it, I will say it. This probably could have been about 12 pages shorter. But outside of that, I liked it.
See, I was going to make a Kyle joke going, what we've learned about Zenescope books are 2 pages is too many, too long. No, this is a decent book. I mean, it looks good. The Belle stuff is probably some of the better stuff that Zenescope's been doing. Maybe it's not as bogged down by the history. Like trying to read Grimm fairy tales right now there's just so much backstory that you got to slog through that it's tough. And even the art on that, it's good art and it's a good story. It's a fun little escape. It could have been a couple pages shorter though. I'll agree with you on that.
Just a little.
Not 35 pages shorter like Kyle would say, but
yeah. All right. So next one we got is Blue Book number 4.
Oh my God. This was already a slow book and it got slower. We're at a point now where the woman is using past or hypnosis just to remember her time on the alien ship. And it's a boring time on the alien ship. They're treating her like she went to a pedicure or to a day spa and it's just how this is one of those books that I'm like, why are we telling this story? Why are we reading this story? What? Because if it's to entertain, it doesn't feel like entertainment. If I was like, it feels like there was an old show in the 70s called Project Blue Book. And it was a documentary style TV show going through the Blue Book cases, talking about alien abduction. And that's pretty much what this is. But the show was kind of boring, and this is kind of right there with it. It's like the second story is, I can't even get through those. But the main story is just kind of like, okay, so she was scared but kind of got relaxed because the aliens talked nicely to her and told her she could take a book with her. What? That's nice to see Michael Ovian's art, though. Ovian's art, I like his Michael Ovian. I've always liked his art. But...
Well, I'm a little different on this one. I think once again, the first part of the story is okay, but unlike the other issues, I knew about the second story, and I was actually a little fascinated to see it put into comic book form. For me, it kind of fits better in this story. If they're gonna do this, where they do first part of the story and then put a random story in there, this one to me at least fits better because it's kind of in that same conspiracy category. It's not random green children that I've never heard of, at least. This is a story that I've heard of. So in this issue, we're getting Betty's side of the story. And unlike Barney's, Betty's side of the story has quite a few, that's kind of convenient, kind of moments for me. And, it just feels a little more fantastical than the story that Barney was telling. And, I'm not really a skeptical person. Like, I'm into conspiracies the older I get about things. But there's parts of me that's like, I can't really believe in the vastness of the universe, that humanity is the only intelligent life form out there. But at the same time, I do have my limits on what I can believe. And telling me that an alien was going to give you a book, and then they're like, well, no, nobody else wants you to have it, so I'm taking it back. So the only thing you could have had proof with, magically, well, no, you can't have it, I'm taking it back.
Psych.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think, again, I would like and enjoy this book a lot more if it was just the one story. Like, I don't know why they felt the need in this one to put two different stories in. But, it is what it is. That seems to be, that's going to be the theme of this book moving forward. I don't know how many issues this is supposed to be. I'm kind of middle of the road on it right now. It was okay, but I don't think it was as good as the first couple ones we read.
If we had more books coming in to read, I probably wouldn't have picked this one.
That's fair. All right. Now we have love it. Darkwing Duck number 5.
You want to take this one?
Yeah, this book is so much fun. It's so much fun. Really, folks, if you're reading this or you plan on reading it, read this and then go watch Darkwing Duck on Disney Plus. See for yourself how close the team got to matching like the magic of the show. Because I've said this for every issue now, it's like a broken record. This literally feels like a script that just didn't get used for the show, that Amanda Divert and team have put into comic form. I don't want to spoil anything, and hopefully it's not a spoiler, but after what happens in this issue, I think having Shush and the Justice Ducks isn't out of the realm of possibility in this series, just for what happens in this one. Man, every time I read this, my brain immediately says, I want Amanda to be in charge of a Darkwing Duck cartoon on Disney Plus. I want them to do that because the team that has done this, I've enjoyed every single issue. I love this book so much. Hey, Kyle.
Oh shit! Now he's here. We got to do this properly. All right. I was occasional watcher of Darkwing Duck. Usually, what would happen is I'd have the TV on. Suddenly, I'd hear the theme song, and I love the theme song. Yeah, and then I'd leave it on for a few minutes, and then eventually go, no, that's silly, and turn it off. But so I wasn't the target audience for this because I was too old when this came out. But from what I do remember, this is that. This is the show. And, they're bringing back a lot of characters. It really does do a good Batman pastiche, and I know that's what the original thing was.
Mm-hmm.
So from that point of view, and I hadn't even thought about the Justice Ducks, and I would love for it to be going that direction. I think that'd be great. This is definitely a series that anybody who's a fan of the character, the nostalgia for it, it just hits on all cylinders. It's exactly what you would want. And, I'm not getting that as much from the Gargoyle series. But this one just hits it perfectly. And I think between Amanda's writing and Carlo Laura's art, it really does just feel like we're just continuing the show.
Yeah. And I've said it before about Gargoyles. I really wish they would have. The continuation of Darkwing Duck works for what they're doing with Darkwing Duck. Gargoyles, I think it should have been a let's start at the beginning of the show. Let's bring in people who, I don't want to say it's niche, but the people that are getting these comics today, most of them probably don't remember Gargoyles. But I will have to say, I think so far as the Disney stuff goes, I think this is the best one Dynamite has out of all of them so far for me.
For me, this reminds me of the Batman 66 series. They didn't start with an origin. They went into Batman and Robin already exist. They already have their working relationships with the police department. They've got their supporting cast. They just jumped in, but they did enough each week when somebody new came in to establish them. When a new villain popped up. And that's what I think is going on here, where with Gargoyles, it feels more like you're jumping into the middle of of an existing TV series. Like, oh, look, I'm going to start on episode or season 3 of Lost, and let's go.
And you definitely will be lost if you start on season 3 of that show.
Mm-hmm.
All right, before we go any farther, because we are only 20 minutes in,
and flying through,
let's go ahead, take a second. And Dan, what you got going on tomorrow?
Well, I think it's time for some audience participation. Tomorrow's topic on the show comes off of a conversation I had during Popco the Writers on Sunday, where Jim and I were talking about Superman and how it's interesting. If you ask somebody to tell you their favorite Batman stories, they'll pull different moments from the comics. They'll have some Elseworlds, but mostly it's Batman Hush. It's The Long Halloween. It's all stuff that is in continuity. Anytime I ask people for their favorite Superman stories, you get All-Star Superman, Superman Red Sun, Superman for All Seasons. They're all things that exist outside of continuity. It's almost as if people like Superman to be the big blue Boy Scout, but prefer reading when he's not, when he's something different. I mentioned this to somebody else, and they said they loved Injustice. How far from Superman can you get?
Very true.
So while we're doing this and during the show, I've got pen and paper. I would like our viewers to tell me some of their favorite Superman stories, whether they're in continuity or not, because I want to spend some time on this tomorrow. So, what are your favorite Superman stories? And Jay, what are yours? That's what Ed's just asking now.
Man, the problem is a lot of them, I just read them. I don't know the names, but Superman Unchained, Superman American Alien. There's anything written by John Byrne. You just pick John Byrne,
The Man of Steel run.
Yeah.
Good choices.
But I can't remember who did Funeral for a Friend, but I have that collected.
That would be Elton John.
I almost believed you were so serious.
Elton John wrote the song Funeral for a Friend.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
It's one of his most famous. You've never heard Funeral for a Friend?
I probably have. I just don't remember.
Red Sun. Okay, we'll put that one down, even though we should already have it. But Red Sun is my favorite comic story. Okay. Funeral for a Friend.
Eddie Dan's always on.
John, Lucia, Ed, Kyle at the airport, all you guys. Any Superman stories you want to throw in, let me know. Triple B, Kenneth, trying to see if anybody else. Jeff, Nick, if you pop up, tell me your favorite Superman stories. Superman for all seasons. I loved when Tim Sale worked with Jeff Loeb.
Oh.
Whether it was Batman, it was Superman, or whether it was over at Marvel on the color stories with Daredevil yellow, Spider-Man blue. Yeah. Just an amazing team up. Then, of course, my favorite Batman story is Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee's Hush. Yeah.
Hush is good. So I'll talk about real fast. Thursday's Space Cadets. I'm going to be honest. I got to edit that tonight, so I don't remember exactly what was talked about, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be something Kingdom Come. Ed, thank you. I almost forgot that. I love that story. One of my top favorite DC stories.
Yeah, because Soup's such a big part of that. We'll put that.
Yes. But it's going to be all over the place. So another fun episode. And then for Triangle of the Truth, I got in so many Kickstarter books. I'm going to have unboxings for the next week and a half, 2 weeks. Oh, those are a good one. Superman Birthright.
Yeah. And plus the Doomsday story.
That Death of Superman?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of Doomsday, Death of Superman.
Okay.
Some good answers here, guys.
I'm not working, but I will definitely be watching. How about Thursday? What are you doing Thursday? Do you have an idea yet?
I may go back to the Jack of Hearts pitch, because there's a rumor going on right now that I might have to change something. So if so, we'll bring that up on Thursday.
That's been a really fun series to watch, by the way, with everybody participating in it. That's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, it's been a blast, and I do want to get to the point where we've got a written pitch, and I want to do it live on air so that then if people want to send that and, remarket to Marvel or Kevin Feige, they can.
There's another good one.
Oh yeah, whatever happened to Man of Tomorrow is a classic.
Dang, Ed, making me look bad. But again, to be fair, I just read them. I hardly ever remember titles.
Yeah. Like one of mine is For Tomorrow.
Yep. John Castle Spilios. Just put that in there. Good pick.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even see that. Up until recently, I owned a page from that. I actually sold that one, but I still own a page from Hush.
Yeah. And I am unapologetically a Superman fan. Always have been my entire life. My first comic character I ever fell in love with as a 4 or 5-year-old. I think I was shown Superman the movie when I was 3. And I still remembered watching it at 3 years old. Of all the things I can remember that feeling when Christopher Reeve first has the suit on and he's flying towards the camera and he banks. That was just a feeling I will never be able to replace.
Yep.
Let's get back to the books. As soon as I can find this. There we go. Okay. All right. So the next one. Dune.
Conan. I am enjoying the hell out of this series. But I will admit now that all the different jumps are getting harder to keep track of. This will be a great prequel graphic novel for the movies. Now, I know Sean was going to sit down and watch the movie, and I hope he has, and the new one's going to be coming out later this year, so I'm looking forward to that. But this is continuing, giving us a lot of the characters that we end up seeing later on. At this point, we just get Paul Atreides' parents together, in a sense. We just get them in the same room together. We're seeing a lot of the politics. So this would be a great book to read, but I think if you are newer to Dune, and again, I'm not someone who's read all the novels. I haven't read any of them. I've watched the movies and then coming back and reading these, remembering the characters and making the connections. But when this comes out in a graphic novel and reading it before watching the movie, or watching the movie, then reading it, then rewatching the movie, I think it'll add a lot to it. So if you like the Dune movie, I really do recommend this series because it does give a lot of the backstory without having to sit through all the different novels. And there's a lot of them. But yeah, this continues to be a good series.
And I'm with you, but I got to say, 5 issues in and I'm no closer to understanding what's going on than I was 4 issues ago. I think to me, just for me, because of how I know I am with things, this would be one that would work better if I read it all the way through one time instead of here's one issue, 2 or 3 weeks later, here's the second issue, just trade it, read it all at once.
Agreed.
Which I think that's what I'm going to end up doing because I do like it. I do. From what I've read, this is going to be a 12-issue run, I believe is what I read. So there's still plenty of time for these stories to converge if that's what they plan on doing. They might not even plan on having this thing, mesh.
I think the movie is the convergence. You're basically setting up the backstories for all the characters that are components in the movie.
So then, yes, I need to watch them because, I enjoyed the original Dune for what it was at the time. I enjoyed it. Again, it's not bad by any means, but it's definitely not new reader friendly or, if you know absolutely nothing, you know, it's not that easy to just jump in. I would describe this as somebody who's kind of like that. This, and I know this came way before it, but this feels like Game of Thrones in space right now, because it just feels we keep getting, here's a plot point, here's a plot point, here's a plot point, here's a plot point, and I'm waiting for all of it to come together. And if it does it in the movie, then there's my answer to that. I would still tell people to give this a shot. Just try it. You might feel about it differently. And if you've seen the movie, maybe this will read better for you than it does for me. But I do like it. I just need a little more info on my end to really appreciate it.
This is epic sci-fi in the way that Lord of the Rings is epic fantasy. It's kind of the ground zero for everything that comes after, for Star Wars, for Star Trek, for everything else. It all kind of starts with DUNE, but it has that huge encompassing world that they build. And I think that's a little overwhelming. It would be like trying to jump into Star Wars now.
No, there's so much of trying to figure out what is canon, what's not canon, what's legacy or whatever.
Yeah.
I like the movies. I don't stray too far from the movies when it comes to.
But the big advantage that the movie had is that because they're doing it split over, they're telling the same story the original movie did, but they're taking more time to do it. And I think that has really helped out. So by the time you get to the end of the second movie or the first movie, a lot of the stuff is making sense. You've had more time with these characters, more explanation of things, where in the first movie, you're at the halfway point of a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
And you're still going, is that Sting? Yeah.
Oh, Sting, and I never say the guy's name right, but Kyle MacLachlan, is that his name? Yeah.
And Patrick Stewart.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've watched that, but I remember liking it as a kid. All right. Speaking of things I like, HARROWER, I can never say that either.
HARROWER.
There you go. Number 4.
Go for it.
Wow. What a way to end a book. Everything is revealed and kind of wrapped up. I had one of those, I should have expected that. I should have seen that coming kind of moments, but I was so involved with the story that it wasn't until the end, or I was like, wait, of course that's what happened. But I didn't think about it at the time. It wasn't until the end of this issue I was like, oh, okay. I really hope this isn't the end, to be completely honest. What this team did, in my opinion, is I think they made one of the best horror slasher mystery books in comics that I've read in a while. It's not too much fluff. It kind of just drops you right into it. I'm a big fan of horror comics, and this really is one of the best that I've read in a while. I hope people who are on the fence with this one, I hope they give it a shot, because I really, really enjoyed every issue of this one.
I liked a lot of elements about this book. I liked the ending up to a point. The big reveal, the thing that takes place on what we see on the cover. Then there's that little extra. And I wish they would have left that out.
Understand.
I would rather have been left with the unknown of what's going to happen next, because it's hard to go from where they leave the end of that scene to where they end the book. How they make that jump isn't necessarily, doesn't make a lot of sense. So it's, to me, it's, you know, they went from point A to point B to point C to point L. And the ride from A to C were great. How did we get to L? There's a lot of leaps of faith that you got to take to get to L, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know if they earned that last part. That said, everything up to it, it was great. And again, had they just left that off, they would have left it ambiguous of what was going to happen next. Then I would have been, you know, okay, this just was great. But that last little bit really just kind of went, I don't know.
Well, I can appreciate that. I can see that. That kind of feels like if they were going to do another series, they might have been able to use that to open the next one instead of tacking it on the end of this, maybe. But again,
with everything that's revealed at the end, it almost seems like that next step is impossible.
So it has me curious how that next step happens.
Ooh, there's a good question for you.
Look, here's what I'm going to tell you. It's Where Monsters Lie is at the top. Where Monsters Lie, to me, phenomenal. These two books, I keep telling people, these two books have been the best horror slasher books I've read in a long time. I know that a lot of people love Maniac of New York. I personally didn't care for Maniac of New York. I tried to read it, wasn't a fan. But these two books I would suggest to anybody who's into horror, slasher, anything like that. Where Monsters Lie is the top, though. I want that to be a show like right now.
I think I'm with you on that. I think they were really close, and then the ending on this one makes it just move down a little bit. Where I think they really nailed the landing when Where Monsters Lie.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, since they asked for it, here's a Vampirella book
with an amazing cover.
That is an awesome cover.
Yeah. Speaking of also asking for it, every time we got a new Vampirella book, Jay would say the same thing. You should do more about the nightclub Nazi one, the 1940s one. That we should be doing more of that Vampirella.
The vamp.
Not this. No, we shouldn't be doing this over here. We should be doing more of that one, the vamp. Well, it's not exactly the vamp, but it's pretty close because it's set. This is basically Vampirella is now working with the superpower guys, and she's assigned to a planet where it's overrun by people with superpowers and drugs given to them to give them abilities. And she's on assignment with Dyna Girl. And she's kind of set up like the character from The Vamp.
Yep. So
in a way, this is exactly what Jay has been asking for.
Yes.
This is a fun book. It's Dan Abnett. They're teaming him up with Pasquale Quilano. And you don't necessarily need to know all of the stuff that's happened before. If you weren't reading Vampirella versus Red Sonja or Vampirella, the superpowers thing, or whatever it was that led into that, you can pick this up and start reading. It's pretty self-explanatory. It does a good job. And in a way, I think it's better than the last run. And I liked Vampirella versus Red Sonja. This is a really good read. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. And I'm curious to see where it goes and the world they're set up on and how superheroes are handled in this world now. It's a little bit of what happened to the Justice Society type of thing. So it pulls a lot of interesting elements together.
Yeah. I really dug this. I really did. Like I did like the first. Oh, the art to me was really good. I like the art.
Yeah.
I've been tired of multiversal things, but the way that it's kind of pulled off in this is it's just that place that they're at. I love the time period that it's set in. This is one of those books where it was 30 some odd pages, but it was so packed and so just so full, like none of that was wasted for me. Like by the time I got to the end of this book, I actually had to go look back. I was like, man, this felt like one of the shorter books. And I was like, no, this was like 30 pages. And that tells me that if you have good writing, sometimes the page count doesn't matter. Because when you get into a story, that all disappears. I thought the story was super interesting. Like I said, I love the time period. Now I can stop talking about the vamp. If this is the closest thing I get to that, I will take it. I thought while reading this too, this is how you do a good crossover between two different properties. I thought this was excellent how they handled it. If I had one tiny gripe, I kind of wish they either took out the info pages or moved the info pages to the end of the book.
Yeah.
Instead of having that break in there.
I skipped them. Just skipped over them.
Yeah. Other than that,
because Vampirella did too.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, other than that, the Dynamite books this week were a home run for me. I liked all three of them. Out of the three, though, I got to say that my favorite's going to be 007.
Yeah.
Out of those. But if you're a fan of Vampirella or the Superpower folks or just a Dynamite fan, trust me, the art's good. The story's great. I would definitely pick this one up.
And the covers. This one is Sozo Maika, but there's also a Lyrics cover, a Jung Yun cover, a really good Leisner cover, and then Rebecca Puebla, who has been doing a lot of like the Maleficent covers, the Disney covers. She does a vampy cover on this that is stunningly gorgeous. And then they have a cosplay cover from Rachel Holland that may be one of her best. So they really did pull out all the stops in the covers for this series.
Yeah, great book. For me, at least, speaking of another great book, MANOWAR Unconquered #3.
I really am enjoying this series and really enjoying Liam Sharp's artwork on this. You know, it's a good story, but his art kind of takes it up an extra notch. So with what Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad are doing is really out of left field. It's not where I expected them to go. You know, you're bringing a Visigoth up against the Romans again, but it just happens to be in space. And it's completely different than what I expected. But it's really good. And there's this almost, his name's going to slip my mind. The artist known for Alien, Geiger, H.R. Geiger. There is this H.R. Geiger kind of feel to some of the work Liam's doing on this book. And it is just stunning. You know, so you've got that mixed in. It's continuing the story of him being picked up by these Romans who are, well, okay, he does get attacked at one point, but overall, they're kind of sweet talking him and trying to seduce him into the stuff. And it's all, of course, to get the Man-O-War suit.
Yeah.
So will they get it? What's going to happen next? It is pretty interesting. Like, I wish Valiant was putting out more stuff, because the things they're putting out are fantastic. But, everything is slowing down. I don't know what the status of the company is, but every time something comes out, it is well worth reading.
Yeah. And no, Ed, you can pretty much grab most any Valiant, just the character books, the trades or whatever, and jump right into their stories.
Yeah.
I've been collecting EXO and I've been collecting Valiant books for a long time. And the one thing I will say about Valiant when it comes to that is they are definitely new reader friendly with most of their titles. So you can jump, and I think you would love there's something about EXO MANOWAR. It should not work.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it should not work at all. But it works so well. It is such a fantastic, like, the characters in my top 4 of my favorite Valiant characters.
Yeah.
This book, I'm still loving it. The art, the story, just all of it. I don't have way too much to say about it, but if you've read EXO before, you definitely should be reading this. If Valiant only works on 1 or 2 titles for the foreseeable future, as much as I would love to have other Valiant characters, I want Quantum and Woody, I want my Archer and Armstrong again. If those characters, if their books came out looking and just being as good as the Bloodshot or this EXO run, then I'll take 1 or 2 Valiant books a year or half a year, whatever. If they come out the quality of these books, I'd be all over it, because these last 2 series have just been top tier to me with Bloodshot and EXO. So let's get to our last really weird book. Exorcists Never Die, number 2.
Or Sexy Paladins.
That too.
I'll let you run this one. I ran the last 2.
Okay. This book, wow. This book is weird. Okay. It's good, but it's weird. I don't know what I was expecting with the character of Lust. I thought, maybe we were going to get like a sexy demon form or something like that. Like, usually when you think Lust, that's what you think. Sexy demon, right? No. Not in this. It looked like a really messed up body part, and I'll just leave it up to your imagination as to what that body part could be.
You mean like a toe?
Sure. We'll go with toe.
I really want to hear you explain this a little more.
It's a body part that I probably can't, talk about it or explain on the channel, because somebody will get mad at me. That much. It made, once I saw Lust, I looked and I was like, "Is that?" I think that is. And then the way Lust was talking to them, and just the weird crap that happened while they were fighting this thing. Just, I couldn't take my mind off it. It took me a while until, they were done with that part. I gotta say, that part alone was uncomfortable. The book as a whole, to me, though, is very entertaining. It looks like Gluttony is up next. And there's a small twist at the end of this one that probably was more one of those, I should have seen it coming, maybe. But then again, I don't understand it just yet. I don't know if it's for the reasons I think it is, or if it's for a completely different reason. But this is definitely one I would tell you from Mad Cave. This is more of a hit or miss, more a hit than a miss is what I'm trying to say, than some of their other books. So I would definitely tell you, at least check it out.
you could almost call this Bible Agents of God, instead of, instead of Agents of Shield. I mean, just come up with your own acronym for Bible or something else. I mean, they're like paladins. They really are. And they're paladins with a history with each other. And they're basically going up against the 7 deadly sins, one at a time, which means that this book expects to be around for at least 7 issues. I will add to the description on the body part 2 bits. One, it's a body part that is associated with the word lust, since that's who we're dealing with. And it's a body part that they're actually inside of. Hopefully that narrows it down just a skosh. The interaction between the 2 characters, the bickering, I could probably do with a little less than that.
Yeah.
But the way their powers work, I find interesting. The way they're able to channel angels and which angels they call. Ed,
I wish you would have messaged me that first.
Ed, you didn't have to. Well, it is Tuesday.
Oh,
It is Taco Tuesday.
oh my God. No. We're going to get in trouble. Oh, we're canceled.
By the way, did you know that the term Taco Tuesday is actually owned by a tiny taco company that and that is a registered trademark, and that Taco Bell is trying to sue to make it generic? The term is owned by a John's Tacos, I think it's called. It literally is something that generic.
I would have never even known about this place.
Uh-huh.
Had you not said that?
Yeah, that's why none of them can actually do advertising for Taco Tuesday. They just say it, and it's like the word superhero. It's somebody owns it, or the word three-peat. Somebody trademarked it.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like Bruce Buffer, Michael Buffer, with that trademark. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought you'd be able to trademark something that you yourself said.
Well, it's like Pat Riley is the guy that went out and trademarked three-peat.
That's crazy.
And he wasn't part of any of them. But every time they put out a shirt that said three-peat, cha-ching, he got cash.
See, we need to come up with something stupid. Okay, because it feels like it's usually dumb folks that are doing this and making money. Good night. Need to do something like that for the experience. Just, Kyle's got his thing. I wish he would get that trademarked. He won't even let me say it.
Welcome the internet?
What's up, the internet?
What's up the internet? It's not even good.
Oh, Kyle's like, that's his thing.
Yeah. We let him have it. If you want something stupid, give me a call. I'm great with stupid.
Oh, Ed. Go ahead and fix this all up.
So, all right. I copied down your guys' suggestions. I'll be making my list for tomorrow of Superman stories to cover, to talk about, trying to figure out if we like Superman for who he is, or we like him better when he's not.
Before we leave, we got a couple minutes. I just got to say, I don't think people know what they want when it comes to Superman. It was, hey, we want something different. We're tired of him being the boring goody two-shoes. Because we got Superman Returns. He's too much like Christopher Reeves. He's too good, blah, blah, blah. Then we got Henry Cavill. And it was, well, no, now we want the old thing back where he's too good. So I think it's one of those things where, just like I said on Pop Goes the Writers the other night to y'all in the comments, because I watch the shows. I'm a fan of Dan. Yeah, I watch his shows. I'm I'm not going to judge anything James Gunn does. I'm a James Gunn fan, but until I am actually sitting in the theater, which it's a Superman movie, so I will be in the theater watching it, I'm not going to judge what gets done.
Yeah.
So
the thing I've noticed is that people, when it comes to superhero comics turned into shows, they want the hero they know on the screen. They don't want to let the creators get the character there. They don't want to have events like in the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie. One of the things that people hated was the fact that he was a vigilante at first, then became a hero by the end. That's called a story arc. People don't want that. They just want him to be that character. Now, it's gotten better, but I think that's also with the Superman. He couldn't kill somebody and then learn from it and become better. He has to be the big blue Boy Scout from Jump.
we didn't mind Charlie Cox being the vigilante before, though.
No, he still kind of is. So
Yeah, that's true.
he only doesn't. He's only not a vigilante when the Punisher's in the room.
That is definitely true.
It's like you. To me, when we're talking, you look tall.
Yeah.
And then I see a post on Facebook this weekend of you standing next to Sean, and I'm like, oh my God, he's like Bryce Young short.
Yeah.
You know,
I am tiny.
I was stunned by that. So, but by yourself, you know.
True. And Ed, I would love to see somebody. I love Lex Luthor. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like Joker. We these characters have so many other, villains in their galleries. We need to try something different in that aspect.
And if anybody's going to pull Bizarro into a movie, it's James Gunn.
Exactly. I was talking to somebody, and I forget who it was. I want to see Boston Brandon the Spectre. That's how James Gunn's really gonna get me super excited, because I don't know Creature Commandos enough to be like it's different. So just like with Shang-Chi or Shang-Chi, however you want to say it, I was like, I don't know about this character, so I'm excited for it. So I'm excited for what's being done.
Yeah.
But it's all a wait and see. It's all a wait and see.
All right, we're done, guys.
Yep.
Thanks for hanging out with us. I'll see you tomorrow. Jay's got to go do another show.
Yep.
See you later.
Take care.